Welcome to Negotiating Happiness, the show that helps you find happiness, success, and balance in your work and life. I'm Adriana Fiestro, your host for this journey into entrepreneurship and personal growth. We're broadcasting live on 107.7 and 105.3 FM in New Orleans as part of the United Public Radio Network. We explore the latest strategies, insights, and stories from successful entrepreneurs and experts. From managing stress to building a thriving business, we've got you covered. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Adriana Fiestro, and I'm your host for Negotiating Happiness. We are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in the beautiful city of New Orleans. If you want to sit back and relax and watch us on TV, a lot of our shows are on there on Roku TV. Just type in UFO Paranormal. Good afternoon again. Please grab your lunch, your coffee, and join us. I am here today with the wonderful Sandra Lisi. Hello, Sandra.
Hi there.
How's it going?
Good. I'm super excited to be here today with you and ready to dive in.
Amazing. I'd like to do a quick intro because I want everybody to get to know your wonderful credentials and all of the amazing community work that you've done. And I want to talk about your book. I want to talk about everything. So let's do a quick intro here. Thank you so much for joining us. So as I mentioned, we will be discussing the nonprofit organization that you founded in 2021. We're going to be talking about your book, Namaslay. So I want people to know, who is Sandra? Sandra is a small business and leadership coach for women who want to convert their hobby into a business, expand their current business, and make an impact in their community, and be inspired by other like-minded women. She holds a notable career spanning across both private and public sectors in senior leadership roles for over 3 decades, and has filled her business tool belt with professional training, experience, and disciplines that she brings to her private practice and the We Network Canada. Community is important to Sandra, and through her nonprofit organization, the City Society, she continues to be actively involved in providing support to the women and children who have fled domestic abuse and are living in the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area women's shelters. She's also a 2022 best-selling published author. With an intro like that, how do you even start, Sandra?
Yeah, we're done. Thank you so much.
We can't top that. No, I want to know everything.
When you hear someone else say it actually makes you stop and think, because so many times we underappreciate what we have accomplished. We're so busy giving accolades to everyone else that when you sit back and listen to someone talk about you, you're like, yeah, I did do all those things. That's pretty cool.
Exactly. There is no way that you can't, admit that. And it's so funny because we're our own worst critics. So a lot of the times we're still not happy with what it is. But you're right. When you hear other people say it, you're like, oh, okay. All right. I can be okay with this,
Absolutely.
So let's talk a little bit about how involved you are with the community, with the nonprofit organization work, and just tell me how you got there first.
That is one of my passion projects. And as so many, you either contribute to food banks or you volunteer within the community. But there's a particular women's shelter that is not far from where I live. And it is a women's shelter that takes in women and children who are victims of domestic violence or have been trafficked. And early on in 2020, when all of the world started to change a little bit into the latter part, I stopped and really thought about how being in your home with your abuser, locked in, would really impact the level of domestic violence that was happening already. And, for the rest of us, being locked in your home with people you love and actually like was challenging at times. So I couldn't imagine being locked in your home where, the spousal abuse is taking place and then people were losing their jobs and just the amount of violence increased. But there wasn't that you know, detachment where someone left the home to go to work, etc. So the shelter started to see an increased number of crisis calls. And I thought, it's just really a terrible time. And it was coming up to February of 2021. And I reached out to the shelter in my area and I said, how can I help you? And they have an on site food bank that not only do they use for the residents that live in the shelter, but they also support women and children that have left the shelter and now are in an aftercare program. And this particular shelter supports over 400 people that have moved out and are now, rebuilding their life, but they're still using the supports of the shelter. And they said our food bank is completely dry. So if you think about it, throughout the year, there's typical peaks in donations to food banks, Thanksgiving, Christmas, but there's all those months in between that people really, it's not top of mind because there may not be active campaigns. And so the shelter said, our food bank is dry. We literally have enough food in here to last us another 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I thought, like, how terrible. Like, this is essentials. This is food. These are not luxury items. This is non perishable food, personal hygiene products. And I thought about it, and I usually get my best ideas. Don't judge, sitting on the couch if I'm, you know, channel surfing or binge watching and my mind wanders off.
We all do, though. There's no judgment here. We all do. Or in the shower, or in just the times where you can actually have a moment's peace, right?
The shower ones are the worst because you have nowhere to write it down. Even on
Yes.
the steam on the glass, you can try it, but it's coming off. Um,
Yes.
so I just thought, the month of February is upon us, and Valentine's Day. How cool would it be to show the women and children living in the shelter that we love them and we care about them? And they're our neighbors, our sisters, our friends. And so I decided to create a campaign called the Love for All Women campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'm going to use social media to do this. And I reached out to, I don't know, 15, 16 people through social media, introduced myself, said, here's what I'm going to do. I need your help. Are you willing to put a bin on your porch for a drop off location? Honestly, out of the 15 or six, I think it was 16 people, they all participated.
Amazing.
The power of
Amazing.
community when I just said I'm collecting, and here this is the funny part, Adriana. I set this ambitious goal of 100 pounds, thinking that's a lot. And then as I stopped and thought, that's 10 10-pound bags of potatoes. Like, who am I kidding?
Right.
So, anyways, that goal was crushed in a few
Mm-hmm.
days. Over the 28 days in February of 2021, we were able to raise over 3,600 pounds
Wow.
of food, non perishable food items, personal hygiene products. We raised thousands of dollars in financial donations that went directly to the shelter.
Wow.
Um, Something like $1,500 in gift cards for these women to be able to learn to be more independent and go out and purchase, fresh produce, which the shelter doesn't offer.
Right.
And it was the most powerful thing. My home actually looked like a grocery store.
I believe it.
We had aisles, tomato sauce, tomato paste, pasta, rice, flour, all of, like, it was hilarious. It took us 7 carloads
Wow.
to bring all of the donations to the shelter. And it just shows the power of community. And when you ask others to help, I mean, I get these ideas on a whim and I don't wait until they're perfect. I do that in my business as well because perfect doesn't exist.
Right.
Um, I work with the good enough and I just ran with it. And we made these handmade signs to put on the bins. Like, we were kicking it old school. Like, we were kicking it old school. Paper I had at home, magic marker, the bin went out and came in at night. And the shelter was just shocked at how much we were able to do in such a short period of time. The interesting part, though, after that was said and done, I was getting messages through social media. What are you doing next?
Oh. So that's where you had to deliver because, of course, you couldn't say no.
I could not say no, and I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
thought about,
Mm-hmm.
turning this into a not-for-profit organization. But I thought, the shelter's counting on me and this incredible support community. The community is wanting to give back and not sure where to do this through. And what I love about donating directly to the shelter is we're giving 100% of what we collect to the end
Right.
users. And it doesn't take like a big fancy organization. It was legitimately a post on Instagram. I think Instagram is the only platform I used saying, hey, I'm looking for people to help me. And the overwhelming response was incredible. Fast forward to early 2023, we had raised over $20,000 in monetary donations and gift cards for the shelter. We had hit north of 10,000 pounds of non on personal hygiene products and non-perishables. And so, we did campaigns for the kids back to school.
Yeah.
We were able to send in the summer of 2022, we sent 151 kids back to school with brand new backpacks, lunch bags, water coolers, all their school supplies, new t-shirts, and this was all donated from individuals, from companies that heard what we were doing and decided they wanted to help us make a difference. Most
That's
recent,
amazing.
yeah, this year was like, this was our first fundraising party. So on International Women's Day, we decided to throw this huge party for all women. And we decided that in support of, we're going to pick something that we can give back to. And I thought, well, here we go. We're going to give back to the women's shelter. And so we did this it was a fundraising event. And we also brought in a domestic violence survivor from New Brunswick, Colette Martin, who is an incredible woman. And Colette was a victim of domestic violence and pretty much left for dead. I won't tell her story. I will let you interview Colette on another episode, but we brought her in to tell her story. And I can tell you, out of the 125 women that were at our event, there was not a dry eye in the room.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The impact of hearing it from someone who had been stabbed 37 times and stood before us and is working with local governments to help change laws so that people who have criminal records on domestic violence are actually exposed and that's made known. So
Good.
it's just the giving back never ends. It's ingrained not only in my DNA, but in the DNA of the We Network Canada members. And because of that, we are able to give back in meaningful ways to organizations that need our help.
It's amazing, and I actually wanted to highlight. I'm going to paste in the comments the City Society Instagram handle as well, so that
Mhm.
everybody can see and check it out. And if people who are listening, how would you say that they can get involved, or how would you want their help in any sort of way? What's helpful to the City Society?
Well, that you in your own communities start to foster and be the leader of these initiatives. It honestly didn't take more than putting Instagram posts together, sharing it to your stories, finding some people, even on Instagram, who you think could be helpful to you that are in your geographical areas or not. I would love to see every city across Canada and the US run a Love for All Women campaign, and any time of year. You can pick any month of the year because these
Right.
shelters are at capacity and full. They have their crisis lines ring 24/7. There's no break. Domestic violence doesn't rest. If
Right.
anything, we are all hearing the increase. So if people are interested in learning how I started this, they can send me a DM either at the We Network Canada or at the City Society on Instagram. And I'm happy to connect and share how I started and anything that I can do to help them within their community. So I'll issue a challenge to everyone. Today is Earth Day. and it's April the 22nd. I challenge everyone listening to give some thought. And, if there are other shelters in your area or there are crisis centers, that you reach out and ask how you can help and start your own 30-day campaign. And, collectively, I'd love to see us get to, 500,000 pounds of food and non-perishable and personal hygiene products throughout all of North America. So that's my shout out to everyone.
That would be amazing.
Can you imagine? And then you're
I love
first.
it. Yes, I would love it. I would love it if that happened. And it's such a good point to make that, domestic violence doesn't end, homelessness, hunger doesn't end with December or with, October, November, depending on your Thanksgiving, when your Thanksgiving is. We need to be doing this all year round. And I'm also guilty of it. I tend to always think about those things around the holidays when really we should be thinking about them all the time. So, and it's especially hard now too, because the prices of everything have gone up. I don't understand how people are living. If I'm struggling, how is everybody else doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like I I never had to do certain things before, right? And I mean, let's go down to couponing. I mean, when I was on mat leave or whatever else, when money was tight, for sure, couponing was a thing, but I was still able to get what I needed to get. And these days, it's like, how is everybody doing? How is everybody making it out there? So I can't imagine what the shelters are going through right now. So that would be amazing if people wanted to join us on a challenge. I can gather things. I can get involved. Just let me know who else is in and we'll do it.
That's fantastic. Another way, because when we think about non-perishables, there are healthy options as well, but
Yeah.
there are foods that have tons of preserves in them, and they may not be the healthiest of choices. Another option is if you're at your local grocery store and you purchase a gift card.
Mhm.
Whatever amount you can afford to donate, you purchase a gift card and you drop it off at your local shelter. And that will allow them to distribute it to families that use their services, and they can go buy the fresh fruit and vegetables that
Right.
they not necessarily would get from a shelter food bank. They
Yeah.
would get those at a local food bank, but if they're relying on the shelter, for example, they may not get those fresh items. So a gift
Right.
card is always, and you can buy it specifically for the grocery store in your town, in your city, and give back that way if you don't have time to do a campaign, or
Yeah.
you want to do a financial donation. If you don't go out for lunch one day a week, so the average lunch out would be $15, let's say. You
At
at the end,
least. At
at least,
least.
right? I'm being
Yeah.
conservative. I'm not doing
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fancy lunch. But even a drive-through these days is costing a fortune.
Yep. Let's not go there because I
Not that I should be going to drive-throughs, however,
same. Same.
but that at the end of the month, that's $60 that you saved from bringing your own lunch that you now have
Yeah.
been able to put food on someone else's table.
Yeah. I also want to say that I am part of this subscription that comes from local farms, and I get a box of vegetables and fruit for $20. It could be weekly, it could be bi-weekly. It is amazing the amount of food that comes in. So if you wanted to get involved that way to make sure that somebody else is getting this, like you're donating a subscription to that, that would be amazing too. And that would totally support local farms, local produce that would otherwise maybe go to waste. And it's usually produce that's not pretty enough to go into the grocery stores. Not that it's not good enough. I can vouch. We get everything and it's amazing. And I keep looking at it. I would have bought this stuff at the grocery store anyway. Right. So that's also another option. The gift card, I think, is a great idea because it gives people the choice and you always want to have more of that. Right. But that's another option to support local, is see if you can talk to one of the subscriptions around your local farms. They do deliveries too. They deliver it right to your door. It's amazing.
That is amazing. So
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that there was that option,
Yeah.
because you could sponsor a family.
Yes, exactly. And you can pick the frequency, or again, whatever you can afford, or if you're going in with a group, or if you have an organization, you can definitely distribute the money out that way, so then you know that they're getting healthy options. And I mean, the small box is a big box. Like I
That's
don't I
incredible.
yeah. Yeah.
Adriana, what the world has been through in the last 5 years, call it, there's so much hatred and there's so much negativity, and the kindness has kind of gone out the window because everyone's
Right.
dealing with their own stressors, and they have
Right.
their own challenges and their own frustrations. It is hard for everyone.
Yeah.
But I find that being kind to someone, even, when you're just out and about and you're interacting with people. I was traveling on business last week and I checked into the hotel, and, was greeted very welcoming greeting. And I asked the person checking me in, "How are you doing? How was your day?" And they
Hmm.
were almost taken aback that I asked them, like genuinely asked them how their day was. And that means so much, because we never know what battle someone is fighting. We never know what goes on in their homes. And we don't know if they are going to work hungry, going to school hungry. So, as you can see, I'm super passionate about this.
Yeah. I love it.
And Also, one last thing on the shelters, we oftentimes forget kids eat so much. Kids are always hungry,
Yeah.
and the summer break is coming up, which means that they will be going through a lot more food than they may be going through during the week when they were in school. So my other ask is to reach out to your local shelters or support centers to ask, how you can help, because it come the end of June, they're in a desperate need for kids snacks in particular. So that is something that is really popping out and has every June. The shelters need extra food because kids are extra hungry in the summer.
I totally get that. It's funny. I was having this conversation with another mom, and they said the same thing. It's like, oh my God, every 5 minutes, it's like, can I have a snack? Can I have a snack? What do you do at school when you can't have a snack every 5 minutes? Right. But it's just the nature of it, right? So
Yeah.
that
So
is
can
a
you
very
imagine?
good point.
Yeah, having your children home and asking for a snack and essentially having empty cupboards. That's
Right.
heartbreaking to
I
me.
know. It is. It is, especially when, the kids need to be protected. Kids need to be, we have, I can't even, just thinking about it, it's making me very emotional because I picture my child and he's 3, right? I picture his sweet little face in this situation, and it just breaks me because if I didn't have anything in my cupboards, I I don't know what I would do. I what do you do? Right? You have to go to with your local resources, and maybe some of us are more privileged than others because we live in areas where those things are more accessible. So if you are in that kind of a situation, reach out to people. People will help you. I know that there's a lot of negativity in the world, but if I can help somebody like that with something, so but like it's a basic necessity, I will. So there are a ton of people out there who are willing to give a hand, or volunteer their time, or doing pickups, drop-offs, or actually just buying you a meal. Don't just make friends, say something,
Yeah.
we want to
And
help.
if anyone watching this episode or listening to us live, if you are a victim and you don't know where to turn, you can even go into your local hospital. You can go to your local church, regardless of your denomination. You can visit your local
Yeah,
church. There are so many places. Do not feel alone. There are places that will help you and take you in. And if you know people that are victims, then you can also help them by providing those resources that they may not be aware of, or if they need to drive somewhere, like it's as simple as that.
that's right. That's right. Well, I'm so happy that we got to talk a bit about your what you call a passion project, but I think it's such a necessary type of work that we need to do in our communities. I'm so happy to have heard a little bit about it. So if anybody else wants to keep up with Sandra and her events and what the city society is doing. I have posted the Instagram account in the comments. Even if you're listening to this later, go ahead on one of our social networks and you'll see it pop up in there. I also wanted to ask a bit about how did that translate into the We Network, or how are you finding that entrepreneurship journey?
That's an interesting one because I've always been passionate about community and bringing people together. And in particular, the underdog, the women that have gone unnoticed, the women who haven't been born into privilege, the women that, have tried so hard to make it and seem to be struggling. Back in 2018, I decided to open the City Society. And people ask me why I spell city with an S. The legit reason is city with a C was already taken. And then it was a play on my name. So Sandra in the city.
Yeah.
.com is my website. And I started helping women, small business owners that wanted to convert their passion and hobby to see if it would be a viable business. And having spent 3 decades in corporate world, those are the skills that naturally come to me because I've grown up in that environment. But to someone who has not had the benefit of growing up in corporate, may not be familiar with putting a brand strategy together or building a business case or where do I start? They have all these fabulous ideas, but they just don't know how to articulate them or to put any order around them. And so I started doing that with some women who reached out and said, "Hey, I need help." But there was a constant theme with all of the women that I coached in my practice is they were craving to be around other like-minded women. And so once 2020 hit and things changed in the world, I had to pivot how I was operating. And I was working virtually with my clients, but they wanted this craving, this community. And I thought, how could I bring people together without risking anything? So I decided to create a virtual book club.
Mm-hmm.
And we created a book a month. I would pick either personal or professional development books. And again, through social media, I would just say, "Hey, I'm running a book club. All you have to do is buy your own book. We're going to have Zoom sessions." And it was on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Once kids had been fed, bathed, and put to bed, that women came together and talked about the chapters that they had read. And I purposely selected personal and professional development because that's what I had been hearing from women. So these Monday night book clubs became like a party in themselves. From like,
I believe that. I believe that.
people were like, "You gave Mondays a whole fresh meaning." And that was amazing. So every Monday night, we'd run for 4 weeks. Whenever we missed a Monday night or when a book ended and there was a lull in between, I was getting text messages like, "I'm so lonely. I miss Monday nights. What are we reading next?" This book
Yeah.
club, on average, there were about 15 women each month that
Mm-hmm.
were part of this book club. And from there, again, it was so obvious that people wanted a sense of community. They wanted to be part of something. And coming out of that whole era that we went through with the pandemic, I thought I've always wanted to start something like this. And I kept thinking about it and thinking about it. And I said, "You know what? I'm not waiting anymore. I'm not waiting until anything's perfect. I'm going to do it." And I decided at the end of 2022, I'm doing it next year. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm doing it and I'm going to do it big. And so at the same time,
Amazing.
I had met Maria, who's the chief operating officer of We. And Maria and I are both published authors, and we met through our publisher. I said, "I need a wing woman. I can't do this alone. I need someone to help me navigate." And, the beauty in that is in forming these partnerships is that you bring different skills to the table and you don't have to do everything on your own.
No.
Anyways, that is what led to the start of We.
Gotcha. Okay. I have so many follow-up questions. I'm just going to do a quick station ID for anybody that's just tuning in halfway through here. We are here with Sandra Lisi from the We Network Canada, and we're discussing anything from nonprofit organizations to books and entrepreneurship and pretty much community and what is involved in being a part of community. So I'm really excited for this episode. And we are here on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. And we're also streaming on all popular platforms. Hoping if you guys are just tuning in now that you're going to go in and listen to the episode on anywhere you want to do it. iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever works for us. So you had just finished telling me about how you had started the We Network and how Maria came in. We're actually going to have Maria on in a couple of episodes as well. I found you guys on Instagram, so I'm super, thankful that I did, because it is a really genuine, genuine community of women. And it is true, at some point in, our entrepreneurship life, we crave to be with other genuine women or to have those connections, just because I talk about this all the time. Other entrepreneurs just understand your struggles just a little bit better, no matter how much of a great support system you have with your family and friends. They're amazing. But sometimes you just need somebody else that's in the trenches with you to understand. So I'm super thankful that I found your group, Sandra. And every time I open this group chat, I either learn something new or I see new faces that I've never seen before, and it makes me want to go, oh, hey, what do you do? So it's doing its job of getting us all connected. And I have to say, I did attend one of your events in person as well, not just on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. And it was at your house, and it was wonderful. It was for around Christmas time, and I just remember driving. And if anybody else knows, like, I work from home. This is my cave, right? So actually leaving my house is exciting, but also nerve-wracking sometimes, because I knew I was going to walk in there and I didn't know anybody. And I have to say, within the first 5 minutes, it was kind of like, this feels so natural. So that was super welcoming. And then, thanks for having us in your home. It was lovely. So that's my experience with the We Network. And I'm sure there's tons more. I know you do a lot of events at stores or small businesses that are opening up their spaces to people. So that could be kind of interesting. And can you give me like an area? I know it's Vaughan, Toronto, kind of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just going to thank you for that, Adriana, because it's so important that we get feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I have chills because I wanted to do that. Woo!
Yeah. Go ahead. I love it.
Because that is the whole point of the We Network Canada. It's not about me. It's not about Maria. It's about we collectively. And we have zero tolerance for bullying. We have zero tolerance for disrespect. And we set those rules very clearly at the beginning of anyone's membership with us. And so to date, we have 70 women, all small business owners across Ontario. We go as far east currently as Bowmanville, north to Simcoe County, and as far west as Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, and Hamilton is where we go as far to. But we really accept women from all areas. And
Yeah.
people, we do have in-person monthly meetups. So the last Wednesday of every month. And to your point, we try to host our monthly meetups in our members' spaces. So we're bringing the community to you. If people do have a space, if people don't, we do have a space that's been provided to us. But there's one thing about making virtual connections, but there's a whole other groove when you get to meet people in person. And these women, they hug each other like they're long lost cousins that they liked.
Yes.
That they liked.
Very important distinction.
Right?
Very
And
important
so,
distinction. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Because, you kind of see those family members. That's a whole other episode. But these women come together and they have essentially the very same entrepreneurial DNA. But above
Mhm.
that, above your title, above what type of business you have, we're human beings, and the connections that we have seen created in this community, that women rally together, they support one another, they collaborate. So, not to spoil it, but spoiler alert, tomorrow we are launching our very first Mother's Day gift guide. So, if
Ooh.
you follow any of the major brands and the Macy's of the world, every time there is a holiday or an event, they have a gift guide catalog that comes out.
Yes.
So we are
Yes.
producing, and it goes live tomorrow night, our very own, the We Network Canada Mother's Day gift guide. And so this is where we bring all the women together, and they get to feature one, two, or three of their products or services in this gift guide. The number of collaborations and um, events that have been done together, people are running workshops together, is incredible. Maria and I sit back and it makes our hearts smile. Like, you've met so many people. You just recently did a big event where you stepped out of your
Mhm.
comfort zone, and that
Mhm.
was what we wanted to see. We want people to connect with one another and build these amazing, amazing relationships based on
Yeah.
authenticity and respect.
Yes, that was thank you for mentioning that. I'm just late to the party posting about it, but it was such a great event and a lot of the ladies that were part of it were part of the Wheat Network. You guys were there as vendors as well. It was lovely to see everybody and how dedicated everybody was because people took time out of their busy lives to make this happen. Same thing for a charity event. It was great. And that's exactly how networking is supposed to work. You're supposed to meet other people through one group, become part of many groups, and become part of something bigger, right? That's the whole point of community. While we have our own little groups, we still get to expand, which was great. It just shows that just because you're a part of one thing, it doesn't mean that you can't be a part of many other things, right? So you guys are definitely working overtime to make sure that we're getting the connections in, which is super appreciated from any networking group. And if I can give any entrepreneur any piece of advice, is I've seen really viable businesses with necessary services fail because they don't network.
A
Period.
100% truth right there.
Period. And it doesn't matter, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how you do it. You just have to find a comfortable way for yourself to put yourself out there, right? Either you're going to these meetups or you're going virtually or you're just saying hi to somebody or buying somebody a coffee or just anything of that sort. Keep networking, keep talking to people because you really never know what kind of connections you're going to make. And it's not all about money. And I will say this again is I will take the time to do these kinds of events where there's no money involved for me, but the connections that you make with all of these wonderful people who have so
Mhm.
much going on for themselves, businesses, nonprofits, volunteer, or just even regular 9 to 5 jobs for other people that own these businesses, the connections you're going to make are going to pay off tenfold over the course of your dealings in your business, right? You can't convince me otherwise.
No, I
So,
completely agree with you. I completely agree. And you said something interesting because so many people have the fear of networking. I'm walking into
yeah,
a room, I don't know anyone.
yeah,
And we make sure that we spend time with each of our members. As I said, we have 70 right now. There are women that joined us on day one, which we started this March 2023, and they're still with us. They have found their voice. We create a safe space for people to practice going live, for example. We have a couple of our members that have never done an Instagram live because it's like the fear in them is just crippling.
yeah,
And so we go to their business location and we stand behind the camera and we cheer them on and we help them with their live. That is what it's all about, is being of service to others. One of the other key things as well is I've incorporated my coaching practice into We. So our members not only come to our monthly meetups that are in person, but twice a month we do business and social media training. And you
Hmm.
facilitated a session at the end of 23
Yeah.
for our members so they can learn new skills, new techniques. They can learn how to use Canva. They can learn how to, create Instagram reels and hashtags, all that funky stuff that you need to understand to run your business. And most times, especially in your infancy stage of your business, you're a solopreneur. You are marketing, accounting, finance.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming, 100%. And
All those things.
it's intimidating also. So I deal a lot with different tech, right? So to your point, it is overwhelming to see that the moment you just got comfortable with one platform, 10 others have popped up. So it's hard to say, hey, I'm going to change from one to the other, or I'm going to completely flip my business upside down how I run operations in hopes that this is going to get better. So it's so important to have people around you that have already tried these methods or have already made that leap to learn from. I'm always happy to give people recommendations. I do believe that, there's a stage in your business where you have to DIY things. Even though I'm a service provider and I do those things for people, I will gladly give out the information to say, if you think that you can handle doing this, give it a try. Do I have my stats about how overwhelming things are? Yeah. And I will let you know about that too, just so that you're not thinking you're the only one that's not, you know, getting over that hump. But you're supposed to try things. You're supposed to ask people questions. You're supposed to feel welcomed in an environment where, this is what this is for. This is what we're fostering connections for. And if it happens to bring you, your customers as well, then that's a bonus. That's a bonus.
Yeah, we call our members sis stars,
Yes.
and and someone said, "Isn't that a bit cheesy?" I'm like, "Cheesy or not, I like it. It's gonna go," and
Right.
they all love it
Guess
because
what?
now
It's
they,
your brand. That's
yeah,
the
that's
beauty of
the
it.
beauty. This is
Yes.
our business. We can call it whatever we want, but
Hmm.
now they call each other sis stars.
Which is cute. It's very cute. I do see it in the comments. It's very cute.
So
Yeah.
it's just, it's a
Yeah.
welcoming place for people at all stages in their journey. We even have a couple that have started one business and they are not sure that it's going to work out for them. They may want to pivot. And we encourage them because there's nothing that says you have to be one thing for your whole life. You have to do one thing for your whole life. That is a conditioning that has to be undone, um, because you
Yeah.
don't. You could be many things.
Yeah.
It's your life to live.
Right. So to that point, Sandra, if you're comfortable, share what your career path was like. How did you what are you doing either at the same time or before that you're now, a founder, a connector, a coach? What were you doing before?
Well, I've always I've always had many things on the go in addition to a full-time job because I just have this curious personality and I just, you know, don't think I need to be just one thing. But
Right.
early on in my career, I started off in the financial sector in banking at a very young age, right out of school. And so I really had to work really hard
Hmm.
because I didn't have a formal education. I didn't have a post secondary degree in a discipline that would be in finance. I went to college, community college, after I graduated high school. And to be quite honest, I always felt that that was something that would hold me back, not having that formal degree, that MBA or multiple MBAs. And really let that limiting belief hold me back. But I worked extra hard. I worked my butt off and I started moving into management roles and I started to move into different areas of banking. And I started to realize that all of my hard work and my curious mind and my willingness to learn and to get it done
Yeah.
was what was going to carry me through.
Yeah.
And I mean, I spent 2 decades in the financial industry. And I ended that in a director role. So I was in an executive role. And I remember one of my leaders had said to me, probably 5 years before that, I transferred to a new division in the bank, and this was like a high profile division. Everyone had umpteen degrees, and here comes little old me with all my experience, but I didn't have those formal credentials. Like, I just had my name and my signature line. I didn't have like the A, B, C, D, E, F, G kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it was a limiting belief that I had, that I needed to have that to be good enough. And I worked for an amazing mentor, and he said to me, "Why are you so quiet in meetings?" And I said, "Well, I don't want to speak just to have my voice heard, because you know that there's one in every meeting that just needs to repeat what everybody else is saying."
Yep. Yep.
And I thought to myself, you know what? That's not who I am. I have a lot to contribute. So I am going to speak up. And it was the next meeting we had as a large unit. It was so scary, but I just sat up straight in my chair and
Yeah.
added my 2 cents and
Yeah.
kind of gave myself a little high five. And that was the start of the unstoppable.
That's right. And I just wanted to backtrack because what you said there is really valid. This limiting belief had to have started somewhere. And it's because people tell us these things, right? I remember being in school and being told, go ahead, go to university, get your degree. You're going to have a great job. You're going to be able to pay your university, loans right back. That's not how real life works, unfortunately. And while I'm very thankful for the fact that I do have this higher education, it's not in anything to do with small business or tech or anything of that sort either. And we need to stop telling kids that they need to go through these hoops in order to become something that they want to become, or something quote unquote good or better. Do I think that education is important? 100%. But we need to let them figure out which path they want to take, because I hear the story a lot of, I didn't think I could do it because I didn't have the proper credentials. And I don't think people realize, but at the end of the day, these proper credentials are also determined by your peers or by people who just happen to be in those roles, right? There is not some divine rule book of you have to have XYZ degrees in order to do XYZ. That doesn't happen. It's usually, unless you're in a regulated profession like law, medicine, or anything else. But if you are in this entrepreneurial journey, especially because that's what we're usually catering to at this point, right? Then try things. Stop listening to people of when they start a sentence with, no, you can't do that because, right? And instead flip it around and say, if I had that, I could do this, but also I have this. So what else can I do? It's so important to break those limiting beliefs, because like you said, even with those, you were able to break free and get to a point where you're like, hey, I know what I'm talking about, right? But imagine if you could have done that earlier. Right?
That's the whole thing, Adriana, is,
Yeah.
and I'm first generation Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents came to this country for a better future, as many immigrant
For
families
sure.
moved to the promised land so that their children could have a better life, a better education, live in a country that has so much potential. But at the same time, that also suffocates people with the expectation that we made all these sacrifices for our children to have
Right.
a better life. And what do you mean you don't want to go to university? What do you
Right.
mean you want to become
Right.
a business? You want to open a business?
Risky. Risk.
Ooh,
Oh, yes. I
like the
am
flashes,
familiar.
right?
Very familiar. We're on the same page about that for sure. I also we're getting near the end, but I really want to hear about your book, Namaslay. Please tell me all about
Yes.
it.
Well, this is perfect segue into Namaslay, because it does talk about my professional journey and my challenges, and also the limiting beliefs that I had of myself that held me back from being where I am today, and living in my true purpose, and living by my rules and my way. And so Namaslay, it's a compilation with, I believe it's 11 or 12 other writers. And my chapter is about my career journey, but also
Mhm.
with some challenging personal issues I faced throughout that. Because, people will tell you all the great things that happened, but they'll leave out all of the nasty. Well, you get the nasty with mine too, because I figure if I'm going to write authentically, I need to write the whole story and not just what I think people want to hear.
Right.
So that came out in November of 2022. It did hit the Amazon bestseller list. So that is something I've always wanted to do. This is another limiting belief. I wanted to go to school and become a journalist, and I didn't get into the journalism programs at any school. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to college because that would satisfy the expectation of me, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I finally got to check that off my bucket list. And it was such an amazing experience to write that I encourage everyone, if you're not comfortable writing on your own, you could write with others and do it as a compilation. And it's such an empowering and liberating experience.
Amazing. Amazing. So if we were to go on Amazon, we'd find it there, correct?
Yes, Namaslay. It's a purple cover. I don't have one handy, but it's purple and it says Namaslay.
Let's see if we can pop a link in here. So my last question usually for my guests is, what fuels Sandra? Not Sandra the mom or Sandra the wife or Sandra the daughter or Sandra the entrepreneur. I want to know, what kind of things do you do to kind of fuel your fire and kind of, restore some of that energy that you keep putting out there? And I usually get to hear about amazing things that people are into, if it's either travel or golf or working out. I don't know. I want to hear it. I want to hear what makes you happy.
Well, funny enough, I'm not a very athletic person. And so somebody asked me once if I like to run. And my answer was, if there's a good sale at the end of that run, I'm running.
I
But
love
that's the truth. I'm not an outdoorsy person. I like it. I don't like bugs. But what does fuel me is spending time with my family. I'm a huge family. I'm very family oriented and a huge believer in community, even within the family. I love to read and I love to sit in
That's amazing.
quietness and just collect my thoughts. And meditation, you would think like my mind goes 24/7, like it doesn't stop.
Of
So
course. Of course.
right? It's like ping pong. So I have to literally close my eyes and pretend that I'm just hitting away these balls coming at me so that I can quiet my mind. But I love to vacation and I have an addiction with the ocean and beaches.
Oh,
And so wherever I am, I have
oh.
to find water and touch the water. I feel it just so powerful it just cleanses you.
You're speaking my language now, because that's my happy place. What if you had to pick somewhere where you could just go to more if money was no issue, where would it be?
Italy.
Ah, I love it.
Hands down. I
Anywhere
have traveled there.
specific?
Yes, the south of Italy, the Amalfi Coast. I would go to
Oh,
Capri, Positano,
amazing.
that
Oh,
whole coast,
yes.
and I would just even to Sicily and to Calabria, the water and the food and everything about Italy. My first trip there was it was in 1987, and honestly, I left a piece of my heart there because it's so magical.
I can't even begin to tell you how amazing that sounds. And Italy is very beautiful. I hope to go back. I've only ever been around Rome and surrounding areas, but that sounds amazing, south of Italy. So are you planning anything? Do you have anything, booked? What's going on? Tell us about your happy plans.
So my happy plans are we're continuing to encourage women to join our community, but we also on the weekend launched a pay as you come attend monthly program. So because we do all of for any member, we do all of your sharing of social media. We offer you training twice a month. We'll host an Instagram live with you. We do the in-person meetup. Some people only want to come to the in-person meetups and they're not interested in all the other services that we offer. So we launched that. So it's like a pay as you attend program, which is really great. And that is also on our website. We have our Mother's Day gift guide launching tomorrow, tomorrow evening, which is going to be super cool. We've got 36 of our members who have wanted to be featured in it. So we've got that on the go. And this summer, we will definitely be doing a back to school program for the kids living in the shelter system, so we can get them new pens, new pencils, new backpacks, and all the things to set them up for success for September.
I definitely want to be a part of that. So you need to let me know, and we'll make it happen.
Yes.
This is amazing. I loved learning so much more about you, and I feel like we could go on for forever. So I think you need to come back in a couple of months or right before September, and then we can talk about the back to school program. I would love to do that. So thank you so much for coming on, Sandra, and thank you for letting us learn from your journey.
And thank you for allowing me a platform to share on these important topics. And I encourage, the challenge still stands for everyone to go out and help your local women's shelter or men's shelter. I encourage everyone to do that. And I look forward to coming back and speaking with you again.
Amazing. Thank you so much, everybody that tuned in. Thank you for your comments. I see you guys on Instagram as well here. It's a little bit separate from this board over here. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. I've posted all the links if you wanted to get in touch with Sandra or any of her organizations, and I've posted them in the comments. Or let me know. Feel free to reach out, and I will put you in contact. So thank you to the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network for giving us this platform to talk about these important issues, and for me to be able to share all of these lovely stories of my guests. And tune in next week. We have another guest. And again, I can't say thank you enough. Have a great week, everybody, and hope to see you next week.
Thank you, Adriana. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Have a good week.
Thanks.